Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating, a massive, fundamental shift that is completely rewiring the global industrial landscape right as we speak. We're going to unpack this idea that a car, well, it isn't just a mechanical vehicle anymore. Instead, think of it as the very first hardware node in this massive, sprawling AI ecosystem. By looking closely at the data and the real-world strategies playing out in the market, we're going to explore a major clash between two totally different industrial mindsets. And don't worry, we're skipping the hype and sensationalism today. We're just going to focus on the clear, actionable insights that actually define this transition. Let's get into it. So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the velocity of Xpeng. Second, building the AI ecosystem. Third, establishing operational trust. Fourth, Europe's cultural break. And finally, the capital velocity gap.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the velocity of Xpeng.
To really grasp this paradigm shift, we first have to look at Xpeng through the right lens. You really can't think of them as a traditional automaker that just happens to make electric cars. They are a high-velocity disruptor completely redefining asymmetric competition. I mean, look at this timeline. Founded in 2014, they went from literally nothing to a major global player in a single decade. Once they actually started delivering cars, it took them just 7 years to cross the 1 million vehicle mark. 7 years. By late 2025, projections have them sitting at number 7 worldwide for battery electric vehicle sales. Oh, and by early 2027, they plan to roll out humanoid robots. Put simply, they are achieving in 1 decade what took legacy automotive brands over half a century to perfect.
Now, you might be wondering, how on earth do they move that fast without the whole thing falling apart? Well, the sources point to a massive strategic advantage, their organizational architecture. They've got this wild, Tesla-level visionary ambition for sure, but they actively avoid what we call the flawed genius model. So instead of pinning the entire company's survival on one highly volatile, unpredictable personality, they rely on a heavily structured, institutionalized R&D model. This is brilliant because it deliberately mitigates key man risk. It gives them the lightning-fast entrepreneurial speed of a startup, but it's totally anchored by the stability of a traditional corporate foundation.
Moving right along to Section 2, building the AI ecosystem. It's exactly that institutional stability we just talked about that lets Xpeng pivot so aggressively into completely non-traditional sectors. Their strategy is incredibly diversified. See, for these new industrial leaders, the car itself is just the opening act. It's basically a primary software platform disguised as a vehicle. Their ecosystem strategy extends into autonomous tech, specifically building robotaxis to completely change urban transport. It extends into aerial mobility, meaning VTOLs, or vertical takeoff and landing craft. Get this, they're developing a land aircraft carrier. That's literally a ground vehicle designed to carry and launch a flight-capable craft. And finally, their ambition extends all the way into humanoid robotics.
Meet Iron. This is their flagship humanoid robot, and it really shows the depth of their AI capabilities. Iron isn't just running on basic, pre-programmed routines. It actually uses sophisticated AI to reason and make autonomous decisions in real time, all while walking with a human-like gait. And the craziest part, this isn't some science fiction concept slated for 2050. Xpeng is planning to deploy these robots as AI-powered retail assistants in Chinese stores as early as Q1 2027, with an international rollout planned later that same year. This is real, imminent retail strategy.
Which brings us to Section 3, establishing operational trust.
Okay, time for a quick reality check from our sources. All of this visionary, futuristic tech, it's pretty much useless if you don't have the operational agility to build consumer trust. I mean, you can't sell someone a flying car if they don't trust you to fix a flat tire, right? So look at this number, 40. During their recent expansion into Australia, Xpeng set a very specific foundational goal. They wanted the vast majority of their customers to be within a 40-minute drive of a showroom or service center. This is a highly targeted strategy meant to completely neutralize service anxiety, which historically is the #1 hurdle for any new brand trying to break into a Western market. Analysts actually call this localized approach building operational concrete or a trust infrastructure. Just look at what they're doing in Australia, expanding from 24 to 50 outlets, setting up massive, centralized parts warehouses in places like Melbourne, and rolling out 24/7 helplines with dedicated regional support hubs. They are going toe-to-toe with the legacy support networks of established European and Japanese brands, but they're building it out with the speed of a tech startup.
And a huge piece of building that trust comes down to how they handle the right to repair. By embracing MVS, that's the Motor Vehicle Service and Repair Information Sharing Scheme, Xpeng is deliberately granting independent mechanics access to their proprietary data. It creates true repair democracy. It sends a very clear message to the consumer. You are not going to be trapped in some high-margin proprietary service loop. Actually, offering that level of transparency is a brilliant strategic wedge to get into highly regulated, deeply skeptical markets.
Let's shift gears now for Section 4, Europe's cultural trait. If we look impartially at the traditional automotive scene, especially European and Italian industrial heritage, the contrast is honestly striking. Our sources frame it beautifully with this thought. For over a century, the prestige of brands has been built on mechanical perfection, the visceral experience of pistons, thermal dynamics, and exhaust notes. That deep, historical pride in mechanical excellence is powerful. But right now, it's acting as a cultural brake. It's actually become a strategic liability, keeping traditional manufacturers anchored to the past, while these new challengers sprint toward a totally software-defined future. This intense cultural attachment to the internal combustion engine has resulted in 3 major structural roadblocks for legacy automakers. First up is the heritage trap. This is when companies pour all their energy into perfecting the piston instead of mastering the algorithm, basically treating software like it's just an optional add-on. Second is the digital lag, which has caused massive delays in developing centralized, modern electronic architectures. And third is the cycle disparity. Legacy car companies are still operating on traditional industrial cycles that take years. Meanwhile, Chinese AI firms are iterating at the speed of software development, which is measured in months.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, the capital velocity gap. This really highlights the core conflict driving this entire global shift. It's a race between European industrial heritage and Chinese capital velocity. On one side of the divide, you have the software-first model. They value AI, data, and vast ecosystems, which requires massive, unified R&D capital so they can rapidly sync up global markets. On the flip side, the traditional mechanical model still values precision engineering and pistons. They rely on incremental refinements and a more historically reactive approach. So the gap we are seeing isn't just about who has the cleverest ideas anymore. It's a massive, fundamental gap in investment speed. Think about it. The sheer amount of capital you need to compete in cars, humanoid robots, and VTOL flight all at once is just on a completely different planet compared to what's needed to refine an engine. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the sources clearly show that Xpeng has built a highly resilient hybrid blueprint for the modern era, and it stands on 3 main pillars. Pillar 1, ecosystem ambition. They are using AI and robotics to completely future-proof their brand. Pillar 2, structured R&D. They've institutionalized their research to avoid the chaos of relying on a single, volatile leader. And Pillar 3, operational concrete. They're investing heavily in the boring but essential physical realities of local service infrastructure and parts. Put it all together, and it's a seriously powerful model for dominating the transition to an AI-driven economy. All of this leaves us with a really profound question to think about as this market continues to evolve. Can traditional mechanical resilience, that incredible historic prestige of legacy brands, actually survive this completely new velocity of capital and software? It's a fascinating landscape, and to really understand it, we definitely have to look far beyond the piston. I want to explicitly thank you, our listeners, for sharing your time and your curiosity with us for this explainer today. We truly hope these clear, unsensational insights prove useful to you as you navigate our fast-changing technological world. Until next time, keep learning.